Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode. It is raining out. There is definitely a chill in the air. We're at about 10 degrees outside, 10 degrees Celsius, that is. And yeah, it feels like fall is on its way. The leaves are starting to change color. I'm heading back to school next week, back to work. As much as I'd hate to see the end of summer, there is definitely an excitement and change for the seasons. I do enjoy my job, and I don't have the luxury of not working, so I will take it. Today, I thought I would take a little bit of time and talk about my love-hate relationship with this van. And obviously, I love this van. It has opened up so many possibilities for fun and adventure and exploring. But as with anything, it is not perfect. And I've come to realize that there are several aspects of this van that I both love and hate at the same time. It is possible that given time, given a few adjustments, given some money, these issues are fixable. And some of the issues actually that I'm going to discuss today, I have already taken some time to adjust or fix because they've clearly been driving me crazy enough. So today we will be talking about the 8 things that I have a love-hate relationship with in this van. I am going to put my sunglasses on though, because even though the sun isn't out, it is a little bright, so don't mind me. I wanted to make this video because you may be watching this video because you are planning your own van build and you're trying to figure out your layout and you're trying to figure out what is most important to you. And I'm just hoping by sharing some of the things that I've learned since being in the space for 3 years now and using it in various scenarios, that maybe this can be some food for thought. All right, so number 1 on my list, number 1 without a doubt would be my bed. I absolutely love having a fixed bed. I would not change that for the world. I love being able to pull in and crawl into bed if I need to without converting a table to a bed, that sort of thing. So I absolutely love my fixed bed. You know, I was at a teacher's conference this past week, and I wasn't quite used to, going to bed at a decent hour and waking up early, so I found myself quite fatigued throughout the day. I had the van with me, and one day at lunchtime, I came in the van and crawled in the back and had a nap over lunch. So, if you're driving long distances, it's nice to just pull over and have a little cat nap. I absolutely love having the fixed bed, even though I have a very small van, 144-inch wheelbase, and having a fixed bed is a commitment, a space commitment. I would not change having a fixed bed. So that's what I love about my bed. It's very comfortable. What do I hate about my bed? Well, as much as I thought that I would be able to get away with not having, the bump outs or the flares on the sides, and even though I am short, I am only 5'4", my bed is too short. My bed is 5 feet 10 inches long, and my husband is 5 feet 8 inches, And your height is your height when your feet are 90 degrees and straight up and down when you're standing. So that doesn't account for, the times where you want to stretch out your toes or stretch your arms up above your head. And it is, I can't believe I'm going to admit this because I've spent so long defending my choice to my husband, but I'm going to admit it. Our bed is too short. We sort of have these faux flares or these faux build-outs on each end that add a couple more inches. But the reality is I should have splurged and I should have gone for the built-out flares. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic or the look of those flares from the outside, from the exterior of the van. But, considering we wanted to sleep side to side and not back to front, just to save space in the interior space, and we wanted a fixed bed, we really should have gone with the flares. So the fact that the bed is too short, it's not a deal breaker. If I was going to go back and do it again, I would put the flares in. As it is now, John Matt has to kind of sleep on an angle. We both kind of have to sleep on an angle, which makes our bed area even just a little bit more cramped, considering it is only a double to begin with. So that is the numero uno love-hate item on the list. Can I live with it? Yes. Will I live with it? Yes. Is it a deal breaker? No. If I was traveling by myself all the time, would it be an issue? No. But as part of a couple, it does make things a little tight. And, in a way, I suppose it limits the resale potential of the van because only people of a certain height are going to be able to purchase this van. Not that I ever plan to sell it, but things to keep in consideration. All right, number 2 on my love-hate list, the swivel seat. All right, I absolutely love having the front passenger seat on a swivel. It adds to the versatility and living space of the front area of the van. Suddenly the front section becomes living space as well because the front passenger seat can swivel, and that becomes seating when we set up our table area. I love having the swivel. What I hate about the swivel, well, there are 2 things that I hate about the swivel. The first thing I hate about the swivel is that it raises up the passenger seat a couple of inches. Now, I was under the impression that I had a low profile swivel, which I thought would not raise it, but I suppose everything has to be raised a little bit unless my builder didn't put a low profile in. I'm not sure. In any case, it raises it up a couple inches, which is just enough for when I'm in the passenger seat for my feet to sort of dangle in the front, which makes it very uncomfortable for sitting. So to remedy that problem, what I ended up doing is getting a plastic sort of platform. It's meant for being able to sort of move your feet and lift your feet up when you're sitting at a desk. And it's pretty cheap. It's already all cracked. But it does the job of just giving my feet a small platform to rest on so they're not dangling. Is it the best solution? No, but it has done the job to this point. I will probably either need to replace or repair the one I have because it's all cracked and because it's hollow underneath. Anytime someone new gets in the van who's not familiar with it, if they put their weight on it, then it cracks even more. So, not perfect. The other thing I don't like about the swivel, I'm just going through CarMax right now, so I'm just making sure I'm slowing down and paying attention. Guys selling blankets. All right, so the second thing that I very much dislike about the swivel is that when it locks into place in the front. There's still some play with it. I imagine it could probably be adjusted. I haven't gotten around to it yet or figured it out, but it also drives me crazy because like when you go around a corner, the seat rocks a little bit, and as someone who is like really prone to motion sickness, I just find it really irritating. Overall, love having the swivel. It's a game changer, and I wouldn't change it, but it's not a perfect system. Okay, number 3 on the list. All right, windows. So I love my window setup. Obviously, when I bought the van, it was a cargo van. It did not have any windows in the back area. I decided to not put any windows in the back bed area to make it more cozy and cave-like and private, and I'm stick by that decision, and I'm happy about it. I did put 2 windows on each side, behind the driver's seat on that side, and also on the sliding door. I think that was a good decision. It really helps with like visibility when I'm doing like shoulder checks, things like that. I really like that I got the slider style window, so the window's open. I like the screen that opens, it locks into place. The reason that I went with this style of window initially, instead of the awning style window or like the larger windows that take up the entire panel, is because I didn't want my windows to be too low so that they would go sort of in behind the counters. There's something about the visual aesthetic of that which kind of like irritates me. I felt like the windows should be above the counter height. Now, that wasn't perfectly achieved, and I've gotten over it, and I really like where the windows are placed, like in relation to the cabinets and all that sort of thing. So the window on the driver's side is all cased in. It looks very finished. Perfect. Love it. The window on the passenger side in the sliding door, because it's in the sliding door, it is not cased in because there's sort of no easy or apparent way to attach, any window frames or anything around it. So it has a very unfinished look to it, which I really dislike. I spoke to my builder about it. I said, I really don't like this. He didn't really have any solutions. He sort of reminded me that at the end of the day, it is still a vehicle, so it's going to look like a vehicle. I wasn't really satisfied with that response. There was some like corrugated plastic paneling from when the van was a cargo van that I kept, and I actually made like a cutout and attached magnets to sort of cover up that area because it bothered me so much. But then what ended up happening is just with the rattling and the vibrations of the door is that the magnets, even though they were super high powered magnets, but they would come detached from the plastic, which were like super glued on, and eventually they'd just rattle free, and then it would come off with the door constantly opening and closing. So that is something I hate, is that really unfinished look, and it bothers me so much that I am searching for a solution. What I'm going to try next is I'm going to reuse that corrugated plastic paneling, and maybe like use some sort of like adhesive glue. The problem is that there's different layers to the metal, so it's not flat. You can kind of only put the magnets like around the lip edge. In any case, I'm going to try some sort of like adhesive glue spray and maybe like building up the inside cavity with like some other kind of corrugated plastic board, and just, I don't know, it needs to be covered. It doesn't look good. I will say, however, the installation of the screen door that it's been sort of blocked from my view. So it really hasn't bothered me as much as it has in the past. I will say though, because I haven't been using that corrugated plastic panel with the magnets on it this summer, what I've noticed is that my window rattles because it's just in like a thin layer of the metal of the door. And it's not going to fall out and it's not loose or anything, but there's something happening with the metal that's like rattling and making a noise. And I think before, when I had that corrugated panel sort of really snugged in there, it sort of stabilized everything and it really didn't rattle. It was really quiet. So it's worth fixing for that reason alone, even if I can't see it. I hope I've explained this clearly. All right, my next item. This is kind of a big one and it's multifaceted, and it has to do with my water system. So, things I love about my water system. First of all, I love that I have a water tank and I'm not just trying to use the whole blue jug for like freshwater, gray water. I have moved my fill-up spot up higher so I haven't had any leaking problems. I love that. I love my little Mexican sink. Super cute. Love the size. I love my dishwashing system. I love that I have hot water. I love my quick connect in the door for spraying things. I love my filtered water tap. There are a lot of things to love about my water system, things I wouldn't change. There are, however, some things that I hate about it, and actually the biggest thing I hate about my water system is actually already been changed, but there are a couple other things as well. So my biggest issue with my water system was my drain system. So when the builder initially installed it, there was a drain and it had a Y. So you could change the valve so that all the gray water drained directly onto the ground. I loved that. I used it all the time. I also had, so you could close that valve, and if you were in an area where, it wasn't, honestly, my personal opinion is that any place is a good place to drain gray water, because gray water is the same water that you would use for, like, if you were camping and you just, broadcast your gray water into the bush, or if you were, brushing your teeth or washing your car, outside. There's nothing hazardous about it. I use biodegradable soap. I honestly feel like you should be able to, drain your gray water anywhere without it being a big deal. However, I get that the optics of it sometimes don't look great if people don't know what you're draining and are concerned that you might be draining other things. You don't want to run into any kind of like awkward situations or confrontations. Also, like in the middle of a campground, I don't necessarily want to be draining my gray water into the middle of the campsite, especially if I'm like leaving and someone else is going to show up with this big mysterious like puddle like in the middle of their parking area. So I get that there are times where it is okay to drain your gray water, and then there are times where it may not be okay to drain your gray water, even if the fluid that you're draining is completely benign and innocuous. In any case, I have the two systems, and I loved the idea of the two systems. However, my builder basically put in a hose the size of a garden hose. So my drain was constantly plugged. It was constantly plugged. I had to use like this skewer, like it was just the hose itself was super small, and stuff would get like the tiniest little bits of things, like not even a big deal, would get stuck in there. And then the valves would be even smaller than that. So it was just constantly getting blocked. It was such a hassle. And then what I was also finding was my gray water jug, which was quite small to begin with, it just went under my sink. I never used it. I used it once to test it, but other than that, I never used it. And so I kind of felt like, what was the point if it was causing, or if it was one of the reasons that there was all these blockages happening because of all these valves and joints in the pipes, I guess. What we ended up doing was replacing the drain pipes and taking out the gray water catchment completely, and then just having it drain out onto the ground and having a nice fat drain so that there was no chance of blockages. Now, we still added a valve on because if we were in a place where we just needed to wash our hands really quickly and we didn't want to drain something out, the drain piping was big enough that it could hold a certain amount of water until we got to a place that we could drain. Or because it's also quite a big drain hole, we could close it so we didn't risk, animals or insects or whatever climbing up into the drain. However, I will say that I do still travel with a 5-gallon bucket. Actually, it might not be 5 gallons, it's a bit shorter. But anyways, whenever we park somewhere that we don't want to dump directly on the ground, we simply place that bucket in under where the tube comes out, and that collects the gray water, and then we can dispose of it appropriately. So we still have that option, but we never have to pack around this gray water, which, to be honest, is disgusting. So I think it's been a perfect solution. I'm super, super happy with that. Now, there was something else I wanted to mention about the water system. Yes. When I was first choosing the components of my van, I wasn't going to have a properly installed propane tank. And so I decided that I would sort of keep my propane only for my stove and not get an on-demand hot water setup. And so I went with the Bosch hot water tank. And my biggest complaint with that is the amount of time it takes to heat the water. You have to plan your hot water usage, which I find annoying because it's just one more thing you have to think about. You can't just turn it on and it's instant. Because I did end up going with a properly installed propane tank and it all put in by a certified guy, I kind of wish that I had gone with an on-demand hot water tank, and so that way I could have used the propane for that and then had instant hot water. But then at the same time, sometimes I wonder if there would have been issues with that. Would I have had to always relight a pilot light before I could use it, kind of like the stove? And that extra step, if that would have annoyed me instead of pressing a button to preheat my water. So it is annoying. I don't know if the alternatives would have been that much better, but it is something that I wonder about. So yeah, if you happen to be watching this and have an on-demand hot water tank powered by propane in your van, I would be very curious to know what you think of it and if you're happy with it. Not that I'll change it at this point, but it's always good to know what you might have done differently in case you ever end up having to do another build or wanting to do another build. So yeah, so sorry for that long convoluted story, but those are the things that I love and hate about my water system. All right, so the next item, which is, I love hate, the sliding door. So I love accessing the van from the sliding door. I love when you open the sliding door, it's not sticking out. So if you're in a parking lot, you can easily, the door has a wide open space, yet it's not obstructing anything outside. now that I have the screen, I absolutely love that when I open the sliding door, I'm not letting in like a ton of bugs or anything. I love having the sliding door open when I'm camped somewhere to, let in fresh air and take in the views. The sliding door is magnificent. However, I feel like there is something that is not discussed enough about sliding doors within the whole van life world. And that is the reality that sliding doors are prone to breakage much more than, a door that opens in and out. I had no idea that this was the case. I have a friend who has a Ford Transit, so I know that it's not just like a Mercedes thing. She said that she's had to have her sliding door fixed on several occasions, and then it's been like $500 a pop each time. My sliding door broke, and then because it's like the principal way in and out of my van, it's such a hassle. Like, you can still open it from the inside, but you can't from the outside, which means you have to like open the passenger door, go in around, push down the button. It's like really hard to push down when it's broken, and it's just like such a hassle. And then because I live like 3,000 kilometers away from the nearest Mercedes dealership, getting it repaired, it's not like I can just make an appointment and go in and drop it off to get it fixed. It's like I have to take advantage of a window of being in an area with a Mercedes dealership, and that might only happen like once a year or once every 2 years. And when my door did break, it cost me $1,000, thanks Mercedes, because parts and Mercedes service, I guess, is just that much more expensive than, say Ford or something. But also because my countertop is built out into the doorway and they can't access the panel, they had to remove the whole door, which was an added cost and added an extra hour of labor onto the job because they couldn't just fix it from inside. They actually had to remove the door so they could access like the cables or connections or that sort of thing. So, that was something that I had no idea before. And so it worked fine for a couple years. It broke. And it kind of gradually got worse and worse and would stop opening until it just wouldn't open at all from the outside. So that's when I finally got it fixed. And then it was working like a charm for like a year. And then again, it started not opening. And sometimes it depends how you're parked. And I love the sliding door. I just wish that it wasn't so susceptible to breaking, because it's a real pain in the butt when that happens. And like I said, it's not an easy or cheap fix. So yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Like, maybe if the door was on some kind of electric opener, that there'd be less wear and tear on the door. I don't know. I have thought about looking into that. That to me was one of the big deceptions of van life. Because before I built a van or had a van built, like, I've watched probably, like, not even exaggerating, 800,000 van videos. Okay, maybe not that many. But it's like, no one mentioned that. Like, how can that not be a thing? How can no one else have not experienced that? You know what I mean? In any case, beware of the sliding door. I almost think, and there's some van lifers that I've noticed recently that have like put their bed up at the front and put their kitchen in the back so that they can like use the back doors. And like, honestly, I would almost consider that if I was redoing it as a layout, because that's how much the sliding door situation irks me, Anyways, something to think about. All right. Next on my love-hate list. Oh, Skylight. Okay, I love my Skylight. I would never not have a skylight, especially over the bed area. I just think the romance of like being out in the forest and like laying in bed and like watching the stars of your skylight, like nothing beats it, okay? And we're just like laying in bed and watching like the trees overhead and the leaves like rustle in the branches, or watching the birds, like, or watching the clouds move. Like, I love having a skylight. And because I don't have any windows in my back sleeping area, which I'm really happy about because it keeps those cozy kind of cave-like vibes, I still like having that source of fresh air. And when I turn on my Max Air fan, you know, it pulls the air from the skylight and just creates such a nice cross breeze across the bed. Like, I absolutely love having a skylight. Would not change it. But that being said, there are things I hate about the particular skylight I have. So I have a Dometic, I want to say it's like a Hikey Mini. I feel like it's too small. You know, it's a mini, I get that. But I didn't realize, like, I would go for a bigger skylight so I just have more area. Some things that are weird about the particular one that I have is that when the hatch is down, it doesn't like seal. There is a lip, like water won't get in, but it's still not a seal, and I just find that kind of weird. So there's always this like air passing through whether the skylight is open or not, which you wouldn't think is a big deal, but when you have the blackout blind closed and then you're like opening and closing like the other doors in the van, it'll create this suction and it'll like pull in or blow out the blackout screen, which is basically made of like paper. And so now that has a bunch of holes in it and it's like really flimsy. So it's not ideal. But yeah, I mean, it's nice that it has a blackout screen and a bug screen, but they just seem kind of flimsy and dinky and not really built to last. The other thing I really don't like about the particular skylight that I have is that it opens up, but you can't like stick your head out of it. It stays attached on both sides, so you can kind of peek your head up. But I think it'd be so cool to have for it to be like a hatch where it actually opens and you can like stand up and like look out of it. So not only for like security, if like something's going on and you just want to have a peek outside, but like also for checking out your roof for seals or to see if your solar panels need cleaning. I think it would be so handy to be able to access the roof from the skylight. So for that to happen, it would have to be able to open up all the way, and you know, it would have to be bigger. So I don't really know about the long term. Like, I'd love to replace that skylight with something bigger and better. I don't know what the answer is, but overall, love the skylight. Just like not this particular one. All right, we are winding down. The next one is dog spaces. So I built Stanley a designated dog bed area that I absolutely love. I think he likes it. Will he lay all over the floor instead of going in his little bed? Yes. But when we say go to your bed, like, he knows what to do when he goes there. And it's nice to have him out of the way because, you know, the floor area is very small and you don't want to be stepping all over the dog. So that's great. I love that, you know, I made that an essential part of my build. Otherwise, I think it would drive me nuts to have a dog in here. There are, however, a few dog features that are missing from my van build. One of them is a designated space for his bowls. I kind of wonder if there's like a product that we could buy.
While editing this video, I Googled wall-mounted pet bowl holders, and this is what came up. So the product does exist. Now, if something like this could be mounted inside his little doggy bedroom area, that would be perfect.
Because then they'd be sort of up off the ground and out of the way of his bed, but still in his space. It'd be nice if they were out of the main area. The other thing that, when it comes to, dog-friendly space, is like, so the front area where we're driving, it's like 2 bucket seats. There's a driver's seat and the passenger seat, and there's a walkway in between. So when both John and I are traveling together, there's like no place for Stanley to be up with us. He either has to be back in his bed or he's like on the floor, so he can't really see anything. And like, he just loves looking out the window and knowing what's going on and looking out for animals. It would kind of be nice if we had a bench seat, so he could be up on the seat with us and just close by. We're like super close to our dog and very attached to him, and we just like love him with us as much as possible, and he loves being with us. And like right now it's just him and I, so obviously he's sitting over in the passenger seat and living his dreams. But I just wish like we had something that worked, that also felt like safe and secure, like an actual seat. Anyways, yeah, I love that Stanley has his own designated bed area, but I think I felt a little bit short with trying to figure out a bowl situation that, is out of the way, and also a situation for when we're all traveling together so we can all be up front together. But I guess you can't have it all. And, at the end of the day, Stanley's happy just to be with us. So I suppose it's not the end of the world. But how perfect would it be if he could be up here with us? Hey, Stan? Hey? It's like, what the heck are you even talking about? In any case, folks, there you have it, my list of 8 items that I both love and hate about my van build. And, at the end of the day, I recognize that things are never going to be perfect, that things can be tweaked if they are truly irksome, and that, you do learn to live with things not being perfect. I suppose if it's as much of an issue for you, then you'll find some way to fix it. It might be a cheap fix, an easy fix, or it might be an expensive and time-consuming fix. But depending on how much it weighs on you, you will decide if, making those changes is truly worth it or not. Of course, overall, I'm absolutely in love with my van, and the things that I hate about it, and like, hate is a fair word. Like, I'm not like just exaggerating for views. Like, there are things that like grind my gears, but overall, I still love this van, and I'm not about to, blow this van up because of any of these one little things. It has been a means to explore, get outside, and have fun, and go places that I never even knew existed. Even if it's most of the time in my own backyard, it's been such a joy, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It's like literally living the life of your dreams. You cannot ask for much more than that in life. Anyway, folks, that's it for today. I'm going to turn this off as I continue my journey home. I'm over halfway. It will be good to get home and, I get settled back in. This van needs a major mucking out. This isn't the end of van life adventures for this year by any means. I'm not shutting her down for the winter. We've got at least another month and a half. But I will be starting work next week, so I'll be limited to weekend warrior type activities. So yeah, I'm just sort of cherishing these moments before fall and winter are upon us. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
One take Tara.